right, man. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, dog. Well, hey, welcome to Creatively Innovative. Doing a quick meet with Zeke. So, just want to learn a little bit about Zeke and how he got into Google Ads and SEO and the digital marketing industry. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I started digital marketing back in about 2015 when I was doing content marketing for a corporate company. We were doing SEO, basically creating a brand new website for a company. And so I got into the content marketing piece. And then in 2016, we moved into more of the online marketing, doing more digital marketing with paid search and other forms of marketing. And that's kind of where I started. And then after being at corporate, I then started Creatively Innovative for small businesses, working on paid search, SEO, and websites at that time.
Gotcha. Awesome. So, how was or what got you to transition from corporate to more of a smaller business market?
So with corporate, there's a lot more red tape. You basically aren't allowed to do certain things. You have to go through a lot of hoops to get things done. And so the breaking point was realizing like just how much it took to basically get things done. Whereas with working with small businesses, you're like, oh, you need this done, and you just do it. There's no rules as much. It's like, oh, you have to do it this way, ask this person. So there's a lot more stuff that can be done, and it can be done quickly, and you can get results a lot faster. And that's me. I'm ready to just do tasks and get leads right away.
Right, totally. I've even noticed sometimes in our workspace, you'll be like, yeah, this is something, in corporate, it used to be this way, and there were 15 hoops to jump through. But, if you're doing it on your own or in a smaller case, it seems like you can there's a little bit more flexibility. I think one thing that's nice in regards to our business that you've brought from the corporate side are the processes. It seems like everybody that we've implemented in the company talks about how our processes are so regiment and they get things done. I think you brought that from the corporate side of things, so that's been pretty good. But so so we started up Creatively Innovative in about 2016. What kind of got you into the power washing industry to start off with? Like, why'd you choose that industry right in the beginning?
That's a great question. So my brother had a neighbor in Maryland that was doing power washing, and that neighbor basically knew my brother. I was doing some marketing for my brother's company, and he just reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I know you're doing marketing. Can you run my Google Ads? I'm not getting the best results." And the funny thing about that is, this is back in 2016. We were doing $12 cost per lead in the power washing industry. That was basically around $4 clicks, 25% conversion rates. And that was low back then because he was averaging at that time, back in 2016, I think he was around $25 to $60 a lead, depending on what was happening. I recall something in that storyline. Obviously, this was years ago. He spent like $600 and like barely got enough leads to make it worthwhile to keep going. And he just wanted to try something different. And I just basically had to figure it out. I was like, I'm going to use these keywords. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we even, I think, made like a really rudimentary landing page. We took his website page and we like edited it at that time. So even though I didn't have a landing page builder, I still was trying to use landing pages because that's what corporate taught me, is that use landing pages when you're doing ads.
So you kind of like tried to take his website and make it somewhat of a landing page, even though it wasn't on its own.
We duplicated one of his service pages, like his pressure washing service page. We duplicated it. We put a form on the page. We added a little bit more call to actions. We were basically just moving around content that was on the site in the very beginning. And then I think it wasn't too long after that I actually started using a landing page builder. I used Instapage back in the day. Now I don't use them, but they were one of my original platforms that I used for making an instant landing page, basically.
Gotcha. It's crazy to me going back to what you're saying about $12 leads when we're seeing people, bid a click for over $12 leads or a click for over $12.
Yeah.
Like, that just blows my mind how far it's come and, how far people might spend for clicks nowadays.
It's competitive. Basically, people see that they're like, Well, if I want to show my ad, I just need to bid more. And so basically, people are thinking like, I'm just going to bid to be at the top. They have no care for what the cost per lead is. And so in 2023, we're seeing on YouTube, we're seeing people are putting out $17 cost per click in window cleaning, and they're calling it low. And I'm like, I don't even want to know what their highs are if that's what their lows
Seriously.
are. And they had 108 clicks. Oh man, it was crazy seeing that the other day. And so that's one where you have to make sure that what you're doing makes sense for your business. Does it make sense to be spending for that guy on YouTube $150 per lead if he's spending $17, $18 a click? It just doesn't make sense. Whereas, if you're paying $12 a click, say we're doing $12 a click, it doesn't really matter if you're getting a lead at, say, $36 if 33% is converting. But we know that's a really high conversion rate, unless you're getting only, like, let's say only 10 leads. You can have a really high conversion rate but getting 10 leads, or you can have a mediocre conversion rate but get more leads. And that's something you kind of have to balance out on. Do you want to spend a ton of money for 10 leads, or do you want to spend less money and get more leads? And so there's that balance.
Definitely. I think that's a pretty good segue into what kind of where I wanted to go next with it is, it seems like people can focus on a ton of different things when they get into a Google Ads account, right? It's some people, they want to show up in front of the most people. Some people want to rank the highest as they can. Some people want to get more leads, which, we obviously think that's the primary goal. But like when you started out, like what is your primary focus when you're running Google Ads campaigns? Like what's the main thing you're just going for all the time?
So the primary focus is obviously lead. To me, is leads. Not everyone, but to me, it's leads at the right cost, though. So when I think of performance, I think of what is that business doing. So, for instance, pressure washing. The average cost of a job is probably around $500. Every area is a little different. It could be 400 to 600. Could be higher in areas like New York. But if you're at $500 cost per lead, or not, sorry, cost of a job, you have to think about what can I spend for it. And so let's just say you're going to spend 20%. Now, this doesn't mean you're spending 20% on marketing. It just means 20% for that particular industry or that particular marketing channel. So that's 5-to-1 ROI. So you can spend $100. And so if you're at $100 for a cost of acquiring a client, you might say, I close 50% of my leads that come in. So I need to have a $50 cost per lead. Or maybe you're at 60%. So you could do a $60 cost per lead. And so you take that into factor of, okay, this is my cost per lead. And then you feed that back into the marketing agency and say, hey, Zeke, this is where I need to be at. And we'll say whether or not we can work with you or not, because it may not work for your particular ticket. And then we think about performance wise on like, hey, how many leads can I get for that client at $60 cost per lead? I can't be bidding $17 at cost per click if I have a, say a 10% conversion rate. You're going to be spending $100 per lead. And so you have to think back to what can I actually bid based on what's my conversion rate. And so in the end of the day, it's how much is that cost per lead and how aggressive can I be? Because a client could be really or want to be really aggressive for getting more leads. But if we can't afford to spend more than $40 per lead or $50 per lead or whatever the cost is, then you can't be more aggressive. So I'm not sure how these other agencies are getting $150 leads and people are still around because you're paying Google to power wash someone's house. Like you're literally
Yeah.
paying $300 to acquire, and whatever your overhead cost is, like it's just mind blowing that agencies will do that to people. But that's the thing is if you want to pay Google to power wash houses, you can. You just keep on getting higher.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal, but if you want to, that's how you can do it. But for me, it's performance wise and getting that cost per lead down, getting more leads for our clients, and be able to provide them the performance of getting an ROI. Like that's where your goal should be is, where can you hit a good ROI? If the ROI is there, it's not going to work for either of us, the end user or us as the agency of like, we're just getting them leads for what? For them to power wash houses.
Yeah.
So that has to be kept in mind is what that cost per lead is and where that ROI is going to be at.
Right on. I'm super excited. I know we've been talking about sharing some of those tips because we are so performance like focused. And that's where your main goal is at. I'm super excited to share some of these tips. We're gonna have some of those rolling out here pretty shortly. You know, we're gonna be trying to upload some of those tips for guys so they can try to figure out how to actually maybe attempt to bring those costs down. Because right
Yeah.
now, as you're just explaining, like some people are spending way too much. And it's hurting everyone else because if you know if John starts spending so much and then Smith has to spend more to bid over him, it's just an endless cycle of bringing the costs up. So pretty stoked to bring out some of those tips, but I kind of want to like flip on a little different schedule here. I want to ask, what is maybe a kind of a funny or embarrassing story from maybe your earlier days in advertising?
Ooh, funny or interesting story. Oh man.
I caught you off guard here.
Caught me off guard on that one. So a funny one. Oh man, I think more interesting is more of what we saw come in with search queries, like just the things that have come in over the years and what people are searching. Like sometimes clients just don't, or end customers don't know what they're searching or why they're searching, or maybe they weren't just interested in our service at all. We've seen some interesting things where someone was trying to, they're searching power washing a Samsung Galaxy tablet. It was very specific. Like, I'm like, why would you want to know how someone power washed it? I've seen that come in.
Just gonna break the tablet. Like,
Yeah, it's like, are you testing it? Are you trying to do like some destructive form? I see that. I saw a lot of just random stuff come in. It's like for instance, you might have seen a search like how to fix a pressure washer might have come in the early days before it got blocked as a negative term. And it's like they actually called the client to ask them how to power fix it. It's like, didn't you see our landing page? Like, you know, the biggest thing I've realized is people will make any old search they want and click on an ad. Like whether or not they actually need your service, they'll click on it. And why it's so important to negate terms as fast as possible, and why it can be super expensive to run ads on your own, because basically you have to figure out all those negative keywords to block. And so, yeah, in my opinion, you don't know what people are going to actually say. Like they'll just say whatever they want into Google search. They'll click it, and end of the day, you just got to block it, move on, and find more better terms that relate to your clients' searches.
no, totally. I know we even had a channel. I think we would share some funny search queries in sometimes because people just are looking up the craziest things, and you're like, I don't even know why we saw this come in, but you know, it's all about narrowing that stuff down. And like you said, it takes a lot of work, and sometimes a search, it seems like a search might actually be a good potential search, but you don't know if it's a good search unless you have things like tracking and the right analytics on that. Otherwise, you're not going to know, right? Because if there might be a good search and it's just not converting, then why target it? There's no reason
Exactly.
to, right? If it's not converting. But yeah, no, those search queries, man, they can be hysterical. Like it blows my mind what people can be searching sometimes that we see on
Oh
our
yeah.
side. Like I don't even know why I would be seeing that. I know people look up some crazy stuff on Google. But all right, I got another one for you. If you could describe Google Ads in one funny meme, what would it be and why? Like a meme for Google Ads, what would you give it?
Oh, a meme for from me as an agency or from the end user?
Go with the agency. We'll start there.
For the agency, I feel like for the agency, it'd be one of the ones of like, well, it depends. If I'm looking at like auditing one, it'd be one where someone's like making a funny face and like, you really said that. But from a client side, the one that pops in my head is the little kid. This guy's like fist up. He's like, yes.
Oh
And
yeah.
like to me, that's the one where it's like the guy's like so excited that he got leads, and he's like he's getting the results he wants. And like for our clients, you know, we want the best results for him. And so I always think of like that little kid, like, yeah, or the one where he's like, you know, really like cheering it on, and he's at the I think it was a ice hockey stadium that he's cheering it on. That's one. But like from an agency side, like sometimes like I don't know, like if you audit someone's campaign, I'm thinking of like the girl that's running and there's fire behind her. And Like that's sometimes when I'm auditing an account, I'm like, I can't believe this guy is spending $125 a lead, and like he stayed with that agency for like a year, spending that much money. I had one guy, he's right now getting 100 leads a month right now, and just over a year ago, he was with a different agency, spending $125 to $160 per lead, and it was tracked. The call tracking was there, everything was there, but and that guy was basically just like, I'm not making any money. And I was like, well, you can't. Like, and I just think of that girl. She's running and just like trying to run away from the fire. And it's like the fire just chasing her at that point.
Yeah, you can go down quick because you can start spending money. It just keeps funneling in. You keep spending money, and like if you don't have it set up correctly, or you're not knowing what you're looking at, dude, it goes quick.
The craziest thing I've heard someone say is they're like, I just wanted more leads. So I told my agency just to bid more. And I'm like, what? You told her to bid more? Like, that's not how you get more leads. But that's what most people think of when they're doing it themselves is if I just bid more, I'll be up higher, I'll get more. Not really. That's not really how it works.
Right. I was thinking of the gift that I would kind of describe is, you know, the kid that's sitting there and he gets smacked in the face with the ball and he's like, yes. That's what I think. Like leads just smack him in the face and they're just stoked. Like that's exactly what I think when I think
Everyone's
about
always excited when those leads come flying in right away. I mean, you can't control it. Like fastest time I've seen from an ad turning on. This is back when Google just let ads launch right away without like a review period. It was 12 minutes later. We turned on the ads, and 12 minutes later we got leads. Now there's more of an hour or two wait to actually see leads come in. Sometimes it could be longer, or it could take 10 clicks before you get a lead. It could be 2 days before you see a lead. And so it really does change based upon your area, who's looking, how interested they are. There's so many factors.
No, for sure. I think especially with, you know, with economy and all these things where people are getting a little bit more nervous and stuff like that. And even with artificial intelligence, like the way AI is exploding and how fast people are starting to integrate that into things, into how like they operate day to day. It's just wild how things can fluctuate and change over a course of time. And with that being said, where do you think the future of online advertising, specifically in Google Ads, is going to be? Maybe especially with artificial intelligence and how people are going to start integrating it into their, you know, day to day life.
I think the biggest one right now is AI bidding is the biggest one I see, where basically Google has a black box of how they bid, and you set up your target, like what you want to spend per lead, and you set up that to basically look for clients that are alike to leads you already got. So you have to have leads already in your account, and then you set it up and you put a target in there, and you set up something that's reasonable of a target that makes sense for your business. It's going to be different for every industry. Google then looks at that black box, people that are more likely to convert, looks at time of day. But really what I think of the black box is who's actually going to convert. So for instance, you could manually be bidding all day long, showing up for every single ad, having your ads show up, whatever, 80, 90, 100% of the time. And your conversion rate might be, say, 10%. You switch on a target bidding strategy and you set your limit of what you think your target goal would be. And you then let Google figure out who the right users are. Your impression share starts dropping because it's now only going to show to the right audience. And so you might only show to half the audience, but you then have a 20% conversion rate because the clicks that come in are better. And so sometimes people get confused and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm losing impression share. I need to get out in front of more clients. What can we do to get that back up? And it's like, those aren't the right people. You could be manually bidding and your conversion rate is just going to be really bad. Basically, you were getting clicks and it's not the right people. And so I see AI bidding being one of the top priorities. I think writing ads with AI is helpful to get a bunch of ideas, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you or your agency or whoever's running your ads to know, does this really make sense? Like, is it okay to say this? So you got to be careful with that with AI. I think you can use AI for writing some content on your landing page, make more persuasive things. AI is not great at writing ads in 30 characters, but it might be a good at like a description of getting in 90 characters that can help.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like the AI doesn't really, unless somebody creates an ad specific AI, like it doesn't understand the parameters yet. And even I know we tested it out at the beginning when ChatGPT was going crazy, and we we just couldn't even, we would even tell it 30 characters or less, and it would still be
Mhm.
35 characters, 40 characters, and it just seems like it doesn't understand the parameters quite yet. I think maybe in the future could get to a point where there is like an ad copy AI, things like that. But still, they don't know what we know. Like we know the
Mhm.
industry. We've spent millions of dollars in one industry. We understand what's going on. And yeah, it might have access to the internet, but it doesn't know what we know. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. You still have to put a salesy pitch to it. Like you still have to talk about the right keywords in a headline, making sure the keywords make sense. Make like meaning if you're gonna be bidding on a power washing term and your headline says house washing, it's like that's not what the person looked up. Or say for instance, they're looking up power washing in their mind, they're thinking roof cleaning, but in reality, you have, house washing. They might not think it's the same. They might click the ad. It's not saying they won't click the ad, but trying to bring together the keyword, the headline of the ad, and then your landing page actually meeting that as well. So keeping everything as cohesive as possible. And AI just can't do that yet. I mean, you can make it bid whatever you want it to bid, do this, do that. But at the end of the day, you have to use, honestly, it comes down to psychology and marketing and thinking like the customer. That is very difficult for most people to think like a customer because most people I talk to, they say, well, I'm not my ideal customer. Well, you're not the ideal person to run ads then for your business if you're not thinking like your customer.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to think like, okay, my customer is, looking for such and such, or my customer is doing that. Where I hear people that are like, well, I don't want to put an offer because then that means I'm cheap. Well, who typically goes after offers? Is it really the cheap people or is it the wealthy people? How do you think wealthy people got wealthy? Was it from spending a bunch of money or was it from saving money? Got to think through that. And it's like sometimes those people, your target audience actually might be, a top 10%, earner. And those people are looking to save a little bit of money. Or maybe it's just pushes someone over the edge. Because reality is after the conversation happens, you may not even have that person ask for a discount. It just simply was just to get them to call you in the very beginning.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting, as we're developing AI and stuff, and I know we stay on this topic a little bit, but with these automated strategies that Google has, and even more or less automated campaigns, there's still. I mean, I'd like to ask you: are they a kind of set it and forget it type thing? Like, can you just set it up, press a button, and let it run? Like, is that going to be successful if somebody wanted to DIY it?
You could if you want to spend a lot of money. So I always equivalent that to if you're okay, like, I mean, you're spending $20, $30 a click in some of these cases when you're running on your own. And then you're trying to put, let's just say, for example, you have a $20 a day budget. But I see a lot of guys are like, oh, I just put a little bit in there. But you have your bid set at 20 bucks. You're literally getting one click a day. And then you don't have conversion rate tracking set up. And so then you're like, well, I got 5 calls today. And it's like, did you? Like, did they come from ads? Because last time I checked, you only can get 1 call from 1 click. You can't get 5 calls from 1 click. And so if you're getting 5 calls a day and you're getting 3 clicks, they're not coming from Google Ads, they're coming from something else. And so there are things like Performance Max that people have tried setting up and do set and forget. There have been other programs. The problem with the set and forget is what happens when it goes wrong or when you stop getting leads or Google is like, oh, there's nothing in your target audience, and so it spends a bunch of money for 20 days and then it like starts dropping, or your competitors start bidding more. That's the problem with the set and forget is your competitors might start increasing their bids. Their competitors might start putting like an offer out there. Your competitor might you could just have a competitor start up. It doesn't mean that they're bidding anymore. It's just one more guy into the rotation. So typically you might have honestly 10 to 20 people running ads, guys with different budgets. They might be running out earlier in the day. You honestly have to change it. So during your peak months, you actually can lower bids in many cases And then during the non-peak months, you then have to balance, do you raise your bids? Do you not raise it? And so you can actually, you should, in theory, be getting cheaper leads in your peak months, because you should be able to lower your bids to get more leads. But the set it and forget it method is a dangerous one to do. It's it's not a great way to get overall performance, but hey, if if it works for you to maybe get like 1 or 2 leads a month, maybe 5 leads a month, where it's like really low bids, you don't go crazy, and you're just like, well, if I get one, I get one, but you're not going to get high performance off of that strategy.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's good for everyone to know because like if you when you're running a campaign, I know our team is just constantly optimizing campaigns all day long, right?
Mhm.
I mean, they're looking at multiple campaigns every day, and it's wild how much we keep learning even ourselves with all the years of experience combined we have. It's crazy how much we're still learning. I can't imagine just one individual even running their own campaign, because there's so much to it, and you have to spend continual time. If you want to be on the field working all day, every day, these jobs that you're getting, you're not going to be able to manage the Google Ads campaign unless you're, staying up all night. So I think that's just good for everyone to know is the automated stuff. Don't use it as a crutch. Use it as a tool.
Mhm.
You're still going to have to be there to optimize it and make sure it's going
Absolutely.
the trajectory that you want it to go. But I'm going to kind of wrap things up here. I had one last question for you. What, Zeke, do you enjoy most about running a Google Ads agency?
The satisfaction of improving a business like year over year, like seeing that growth, hearing customers' feedback. Um, One of my favorite stories is I have a client that he started his business with $1,000 in his pocket from a tax return like 3 or 4 years ago. And he's like, what should I do? And I was like, well, you could do half for management, half for ad spend. And we'll basically just try to cash flow it, where we're like, we're going to try to optimize you for just getting leads. And then once you have the leads, you can increase your budget. And he started that several years ago. And we just talked last weekend, and he's like, I can't believe we're not even, what are we, 20? Well, we're almost towards the end of the month. And he's
Hmm.
like, I'm at $37,000 in revenue for just this month, in revenue. And I think back in the beginning, he only did like 100K in his very first year. Now he's doing 37,000 a single month. And we had only spent $750 in ad spend. He was so booked out that he was like, I got to pause my ads for a week, just to catch up. And so results matter. And that's what really, is the thing, is like, we have to get results for our clients. And when we get results for our clients in return, obviously clients stick around. They, refer us to their friends, things like that. And so for me, it's the satisfaction of getting more leads. Like I'm always pumped to see when clients start getting 100+ leads. I'm like, wow, this is a lot for this one. Or we have one client that gets 1,000 leads a month for their industry to SEO and Google Ads with us. And some people, it's mind blowing that you can get that many leads, and it just depends on the industry. It depends what you're doing, and it's so fun to see clients grow. One of our clients has grown from 300,000 to $12 million over the time, and it's like they're doing everything they're doing consistently. They don't stop one thing. They add more marketing channels. People always ask that, like, oh, well, once I get big, should I just stop Google Ads and do just SEO? And it's like, well, do you want to stop like growing? And so like that particular client is using multiple marketing channels. Like they have the truck wraps, they have SEO, they have the ads, they have social media postings, they have all sorts of things that are contributing to that factor of brand awareness, and then leads and remarketing campaigns. And there's just so much stuff that you could do. It just depends on what do you have the capacity to do as a business owner. Like, can you grow? Can you add more leads? Can you do more? And to me, that's just so fun to watch people as they're like growing, and like just seeing like the feedback, or like, yeah, I'm pumped I did this. Or like one client we had that he's been with us for a year with concrete coatings. And I remember taking him from zero to like $50,000 a month, and then hitting $100,000 a month.
It's
And it's
crazy.
just so much fun to see them, because they realize it's not just the leads we get them, it's the referrals from those leads. So you might think you're spending 20% on marketing, but once you get a referral from each client, just one referral, that brings your cost down to 10%. Get 2 referrals, it's going to bring your cost down to 8% because you're now dividing that 20 divided by 3. It's like 7.33%, whatever it is there, and you get it. But it's basically, it's a numbers game, and it's one of those where you basically have to do what works for your business and what's growing. And if you're not closing leads, improve your sales conversion rate from lead to sale. So that's what brings me joy, is just seeing the clients as they're growing and seeing the performance that they're getting as they're growing their business.
That's so awesome. I think it's cool because, I mean, you're not just setting up a campaign for somebody for a couple weeks and then dipping, right? Like, we're with a client for a long period of time. So, it's a partnership the whole way through, and it's cool how you start learning more about each other, and you start getting a text from a client. It's like, dude, we're kicking butt this month. Like, keep it up. And as like somebody who's managing an account, you're just like, right on, man. Like, let's keep going, right? It's cool, like, just hearing that feedback and building those relationships over such a long period of time is definitely awesome. So it's cool. And I think it fuels the business for a right reason. Like, you're not here to make money off of these pressure washers, right? You're here to make them money, right? And you're here to help them over the long run and take them to where they want to go. And it's just super cool to see that. But I know we're getting here to, we got to start wrapping it up. But I really appreciate your time, Zeke. I think it's been great, man. I think everyone's pretty excited to get some tips from you and start, getting some of that wisdom from you.
Yeah, we'll be sharing more around YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So keep following Creatively Innovative on any of these channels, and we'll be providing more tips and advice. If you want to leave a comment about something that you would like to see some content for, feel free to drop in the comments below, and we'll take that into consideration.
Right on. Yep. And make sure to check out the description below. We'll have our links to our socials in there. So check those out and get posted, subscribe, hit those later videos, man. All right. Well, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
See ya.